Morning in Aswan. We departed Cairo last night by railway, boarding a late-night train traveling roughly along the Nile to Egypt's southern region. While we slept, we rode past locations such as Sohaj, Kenna, Luxor, and Kamombu, which we'll be visiting soon enough. Today's arrival in Aswan is more for acclimation and relaxation, preparation for tomorrow's big visit. Aswan is the capital city of the Aswan Governorate, the southernmost regional government of Egypt, which encompasses 1.6 million people. Nearly all of the region's population lives along the reaches of the Nile due to the area's consistently sunny and warm climate, but it's also home to historic sites such as the Temple of Philae, the rock quarries from which the pyramidic and temple stones of ancient Egypt were hewn and floated up the Nile, and the southern ingress point of the Nile itself. The actual entry point of the river delta upon which Aswan was founded is now blocked by the Aswan High Dam, which separates what is now Lake Nasser and the 10 other African countries along the Nile's 6,650-kilometer path from its northern flow through modern Egypt into the Mediterranean Sea. We're crossing over that dam now as we begin our early morning drive to our next major stop, the temples of Abu Simbel, 288 kilometers to the south of Aswan. It's another long morning drive. Along the way to Abu Simbel, we have to travel through the desert along the length of Lake Nasser to the east. During the 1960s, following a period of extensive planning and not a small amount of controversy, then-President Gamal Abdel Nasser initiated the construction of the Aswan High Dam in an effort to control the annual flooding of the Nile and moderate Egyptian agricultural irrigation efforts. The resulting creation of the dam's reservoir, the present Lake Nasser, would totally submerge the lower region of former classical Nubia. This also created, as a consequence, a unique problem of preservation. The Abu Simbel complex is part of what is called the Nubian Monuments, classified at large as a World Heritage Site by the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, better known as UNESCO. Split between the small temple, dedicated to the pharaoh's chief wife Nefertari, and the Great Temple, a dedication by Pharaoh Ramses II to himself, the present site of these monuments is actually not their original location. When the temples were rediscovered in 1813 after being mostly covered by sand since about 6th century BCE, they were only about 10 meters from the waterline of the Nile. The construction of the Aswan Dam threatened to leave the complex underwater, so a UNESCO multinational team working from 1964 to 1968 painstakingly dismantled and reconstructed the temples in their entirety, moving both great and small temples block by block to a point some 200 meters back and 65 meters higher from the waterline. The end result is what you see now. The 4 colossal facades of Ramses II bracketing the entrance to the Great Temple, one of them broken, and the statues of the pharaoh with Queen Nefertari bracketing the entrance to the small temple. Unlike the granite and limestone constructs of the Giza necropolis and other temples throughout the territories of ancient Egypt, the Abu Simbel complex was formed entirely from the sandstone of the cliffs bordering the former Nile waterline. The pharaoh had the temples cut into the cliffside, with the interior of the Great Temple stretching an estimated 25 meters into the hard rock of the mountain. The temple interiors maintain a similar construction, a large primary hall with pillars antecedent to a smaller chamber with side room offshoots, terminating in a small sanctuary room. While the predominant depictions among the walls of Nefertari's temple show the queen and pharaoh presenting offerings to the various gods and goddesses of ancient Egypt, the stone of Ramses' temple is cut with demonstrations of his military campaigns in Libya and Syria and what was Nubia. The Great Temple's primary hall also contains 8 deific pillars of Ramses, compared to the 6 of the small temple, with a sanctuary containing seated figures of Ra, Pharaoh Ramses, Amun-Ra, and Ptah. The Abu Simbel temples are a fascinating example of preservation in the concurrence of the march of progress, in which antiquity and modernity need not stifle the other by their respective existence.